Good morning, Nystrom, and happy Tuesday to you. I hope you had a great 3-day weekend. If you're itching for more 3-day weekends, we have another one coming up in a couple weeks when Memorial Day is here at the end of May. Now, if you remember back to last week, we talked a little bit about how the month of May is Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And so I wanted to talk today a little bit about an individual who a long time ago had a huge influence and he has very local ties. Fred Korematsu, born in Oakland, lived in Berkeley, and has a number of local schools named after him, including one right here in West Contra Costa. There's a middle school in El Cerrito called Korematsu Middle School. So let's learn a little bit about what Fred Korematsu did and what made him so influential, even almost 80 years later.
Were you afraid of being arrested?
No, I wasn't, because I didn't feel that I did anything wrong. If anybody did it wrong, it was the law.
During World War II, over 100,000 Americans were ordered to concentration camps for being ethnically Japanese. Rather than obey the order, 23-year-old Fred Korematsu sold his car, tore up his driver's license, and assumed a new identity in Berkeley, California. By changing his name to Clyde Sarah and claiming to be of Hawaiian and Spanish descent, he was able to hide in plain sight for a few months, until one summer evening while he was waiting for his date and was spotted on a street corner.
Police came, and in a patrol car, he said, "You got a driver's license?" I said, "No, I don't."
Fred Korematsu was born to Japanese immigrants in Oakland, California. When the war broke out, he was in his early 20s trying to figure out what to do after dropping out of college and getting serious about a girl. He registered for the draft like all men over 18 were supposed to.
I had tried unsuccessfully to join first the National Guard, then the United States Coast Guard. My Caucasian friends were accepted, but I was turned down.
Anti-Asian American sentiment had been growing within the U.S. for years, but the war with Japan intensified the discrimination that Japanese Americans faced. One by one, Korematsu's white friends were told by the military to no longer associate with him.
December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed an executive order that led to internment camps.
How did you reach your decision to violate the internment order?
I actually didn't make a decision. It was more or less forced on me.
Korematsu had an internal sense of how wrong these concentration camps were. He questioned why Japanese Americans were targeted significantly more than other ethnicities hailing from Axis powers like Germany and Italy. Along with the fear and hysteria that comes in times of war, there was race. Although Fred knew racism played a huge role in these decisions, he also had a personal reason to defy the order. Korematsu had a serious girlfriend, and she happened to be white. They planned to leave the state together, but of course, that didn't happen. Fred laid low in Berkeley until he was arrested. When his girlfriend came to see him at the San Leandro jail, an officer pulled her aside.
They called her in too. I seen the police chief talking to her for quite a while, and then took her home. So that was the end of it. I never did see her again.
Alone with no friends, no family, no girlfriend, Korematsu sat in jail for his so-called federal crime. While imprisoned, a lawyer from the ACLU visited Korematsu, and together, they decided they'd fight the case. Fred learned that the greater Japanese American community did not support his case. The community feared his fight would only bring them more harm, an idea that Korematsu struggled with.
To do this by myself, I just wonder if I was doing wrong or maybe putting them in shame by bringing the issue up again.
But at the same time, he was keenly aware of the hypocrisy of it all.
I felt that, well, I'm free, that's what I was taught, in school. You had equal rights, you believe the Constitution and so forth, and soldiers die for freedom.
His case, now known as Korematsu versus United States, went all the way to the Supreme Court. He lost. The court justified internment based on racial distinction because it was a time of war and a matter of national security. If that sounds familiar, that's because similar arguments were made to justify the Muslim ban. What the court failed to see was that the very citizens they sought to protect were the ones they unlawfully quarantined. The case is considered one of the worst Supreme Court decisions ever made. Fred Korematsu was a young person growing up at a scary time in a changing country. His story, and the story of all Japanese Americans during World War II, is an important reminder that who and what it means to be American shifts according to the time and political climate, but is ultimately reshaped by those determined to call this place home.
All right, last week's riddle, the last one, really stumped you. Only one class got it right. Let's see how you do on today's riddle. So look at this, parking lot, and the red car is covering up the number for one of the parking spots. What spot should that number be? If the red car were to drive away, what number would you see? Let me know your answer, and hopefully we have more than one winner when we share it out on Wednesday morning. That is it for today. Remember those 4 B's. Be responsible, be respectful, be safe, and be honest. Have a great day or not. The choice is yours.